Donald Wells. How many co-defendants you think get offered a deal? Any clue? If there's 3 defendants, how many are going to get a deal? 1. Most likely the first one to go talk to them. And in a case such as this, which I don't know if you're aware of this, but if you're in the middle of a crime, say a burglary, and somebody has a heart attack and dies, that is now capital murder. That's not just aggravated manslaughter, accidental manslaughter. That's capital murder. Now, you seem to, I don't know, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't get it, because somebody who cheats on their wife, allegedly, as much as you do, and you've admitted to some of it, and hangs out in, known prostitution areas, and, goes home days later, I'm sure, after those trips, at least a few times, you needed some penicillin. And your wife don't care. Your wife don't say nothing. Like, do you think that's normal? Honestly, do you think that's normal? It's not. It's not even close to normal. And the things that are coming out that you're associated with, Don, you talked to a woman on the phone not too long ago that lost her child. And to this day, she does not have an accurate location on where her child is. She offered you some advice, some assistance, and in my opinion, and that's what anything that gets said on here is, just strictly my opinion, you were very rude to her, you were dismissive of her, and you were condescending of her. That woman came on there out of the goodness of her heart to try to help another person who's going through basically what she went through. She doesn't want somebody to hurt as much as she hurt. You know what I mean? And not only did you dismiss her like that, but you also, you mocked her. But I'm here to tell you that the only person who, sorry, I'm situated now. The only person who should have been mocked that evening was you. Because that woman, whose name I will not mention because I don't know her personally, I feel immense sadness for what she's going through. But I noticed something the other day about Summer and Evelyn and Monkey. Evelyn and Summer have multiple connections to these ROs. Oh no, SOs, sorry. Violent SOs. She doesn't have any of those associations. She doesn't rub elbows with that type of person. She's not, on YouTube every night, blasted out of her mind, putting out lie after lie. I think you go on there just to argue. Like, I really think that's your whole thing. You like to get on there and argue and just cause a ruckus and see what you can get away with. And who's going to entertain you, or should I say rent you this week, like, with all the cash apps, money grabs, this, that, the other thing. I wonder if those same people would be as caring and as helpful to the people, per se, their child went missing in somebody else's care, or even their spouse's care. But they're related to a couple of the creators that, seem to think you need all this sympathy. And, you're losing it because of your daughter being gone, and you're losing it because, all this pressure on you. You lost it a long time ago, bro. A really, really long time ago. It appears, for all I got, it appears to me, at least, and in my opinion, you are much happier. You two are so much happier since the kids are gone. Especially her. While you were in jail, dude, she was giggling and laughing and, doing all kinds of stuff every day. Getting on here, dyeing her hair, trying to put on a little makeup to look cute, and, you know what I mean, trying to go back and forth with certain creators, which, I believe one of them is supposed to be a good friend of yours, Don. The guy in Texas who came to your house when Molly Golightly was there, and a couple other people were out front. That guy who came down the driveway with you. Did you ever go back and watch the videos of her on there while you were in jail? That boohoo Debbie Downer that follows you around like your shadow? Your wife. Well, she wasn't like that when you were in jail. She was very lighthearted. Made several references to you, in fact, are the person that is her number one suspect on what happened to your daughters. Now, it's one thing for, like, me, or many other people like me who don't know you, never met you, never been on your holler, to make assumptions and accusations and, probably be wrong or whatever. But for your own wife to get on there and say, the one person she really suspects is you, it's pretty shitty. Like, and the fact that she bailed Ernie out, but she couldn't accept the collect calls from you. What's up with that? And I don't know. I keep hearing she had to sell your truck because, she needed money. What did she need money for, Don? Because she didn't pay the electric. The electric went off. She wasn't feeding the kids. She was living at Kathy's house. So what was it she needed? And she didn't even pay the $33 child support. So what did she need money for? She didn't. She just got rid of that Suburban because that Suburban had things in it that she didn't want found. Now, I'm not saying that you knew the things were in the Suburban. She did. And she knew they were in the Suburban the night she went to Kathy's to pick up the tools for you. She knew exactly where that box was. And she showed exactly the importance of that box to her. She can't even be bothered, the two of you can't even be bothered with getting it in your vehicle and going there yourself and picking it up. Instead, you turn it into a big confrontation. You belittle and degrade her and try to imply some pretty horrible things about the woman. And what did she do, Don? In all honesty, what did she do? She took care of your wife. She gave her a place to rest her head. She put food in her stomach. she kept her warm when it was cold, and all out of the kindness of her heart. She wasn't obligated to do that. She wasn't obligated to do anything. Along with Kathy, like, I'm kind of curious why you won't let the Cold Case Foundation get involved. And why you will not comply. You don't love her. You don't miss her. At times you talk about how you know exactly where that baby is. You know exactly what happened to that baby. But yet, you have not gone to get her. You've not told anybody where she could be located so they could go and get her. You just keep coming on, talking. Funny, this week, well, it's early in the week actually, and there was a holiday weekend, but I haven't seen much of you in a couple of days. You are your lovely bride, which makes me think that you are, in fact, hiding. Because people are catching on. And even though Cousin Ronnie is the sheriff of that county, sooner or later there's going to be enough noise made about this little girl that they're going to have no choice but to turn it over and have it thoroughly investigated by a different agency. Because, no matter how you look at it, Ronnie was compromised at the time of Summer's disappearance with his own family problems that related to the same subject. That's another thing I often wonder too. If, in fact, Ronnie's son had something to do with Summer. Because Marlena, your friend Marlena, apparently she is related to them, right? And you and Candace, or should I say Candace did something to piss her off, right? So, what's to stop her from snatching up Summer, giving her to Ronnie's kid, and we can all imagine the rest. Because Ronnie, there's no way legally that Ronnie should have been officiating that investigation. He should have removed himself immediately because of a conflict of interest, and multiple conflicts of interest. One, he's your cousin. Two, his son was involved in the same crime, excuse me, and the same time period. So, excuse me. So who's to say that his son wasn't actually involved in it, and that was the catalyst for bumbling everything and keeping everything close to your vest, huh? You do know, Don, you're old. Granted, you're a big boy, but you're old. And you know what happens to old men when they go to jail? I mean, just in general, like, they are bullied, stripped of all their possessions. Sometimes they're even turned out. Now, with that being said, you add on the allegations of Summer and the omitting to sisters, that there makes you a child molester, buddy. Whether it's on paper or not. And if you think people in there won't find out, come on, Don, you've been there before. They got family on the street. They make phone calls. Things get talked about. You can't talk about the same thing every day, even though it's, essentially Groundhog Day for y'all. Out here, life still goes on, and things happen. And there's women who talk to their husband, boyfriend, son, whatever, every day in a facility. And do you know what they talk about? They talk about the weather. They talk about current events, which you, my dear, are definitely a current event. So, basically, there is not a single facility that you could be sent to that they're not going to know who and what you are. Are you willing to do that? I mean, are you really willing to do? I'm going to state again, I'm not convinced that you were the last person with someone. I truly don't think so. It's possible. But I think you're too selfish to have made her disappear or to have unlived her, because you were planning on utilizing her for a lot more time. So I don't think you actually had anything to do with that part of it. I do think that you were informed very shortly after something happened. You were called in to clean up. Essentially, I think you were called in so your hands were dirty too, so you couldn't say anything to anybody else. And I think when you were pulled in on something that Candace already knew she had on you, and she pretty much backed your ass into a corner. That is one of the theories that I strongly believe is a possibility. There's a few I have. Each one is more disturbing than the last. Donnie, how come you weren't in any of the pictures with the kids? Like, when they're going places and doing stuff, and, how come you're not? Don't tell me. Because I work all the time. Because there's other things you do. If you can go to Kingsport for 3 and 4 days at a time, spend thousands of dollars on crack with crack whores, but yet you can't take one day trip with your family unit. How old is your oldest son? 13, 14, I think. In 13 or 14 years, you've not gone on these trips with them. You've not participated in birthday parties or, school functions, things like that. Wait, right there, there's something I don't think I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen a picture of your kids, like a class picture or a graduation picture, or every year they get school pictures. How come there's none? You wouldn't even pay for that? But, school package pictures. I think the cheapest one you can get is like, I don't know, 19, 20 bucks, something like that. Kid has a memory. And then you get the class picture, so, you got a little picture of all your friends that you went to 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade with. You don't have any of that. So, I'm going to assume that means you didn't shell out for it. And old Candy Pants over there, she ain't going to either. Because, she's got more important things to do with her money. And, even the money that I believe, in my opinion, the money she was making off of soliciting services from your daughter for people. You could say it's a sick idea. People are demented for even accusing you of anything in that manner, or anybody in your family. And she's such a good mother. She loves her kids. She would never do anything to them. Well, if that's true, Don, how did Summer OD? How did Summer OD? And here you go. 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning? The baby should have been in bed. So, whether she accidentally ingested or purposely ingested, but just ingested too much, why is that baby up and running around? We'll give it an hour prior before she got to Allie's. 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. Why is that baby running around? And having access to anything that would make her OD like that. Like, nobody has answers for that. And I got another one for you, Don. Where is Summer's registration pack? Where is a copy of the physical that she had to get? Or the, meeting the teacher, and this is the grade you'll be in, and you go up to the school, and since you're just starting in school, they show you where your classroom is, so when the first day of school, you don't feel so overwhelmed and lost. And you spend a little half hour maybe with the, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing over there, handsome boy? You want to come this way? Come on. Come here, Dad. What are you doing? Hey, good boy. Yeah, go lay on the butt to bed. All right, you're a good guy." But you go in, you meet your teacher, and you find out, about cubby holes and which desk is going to be yours, and what day you go to gym, and what day you go to art class or music class, or some of that shit. Where is that, Don? Where is one piece of documentation that a doctor signed off on a physical for her? Or a doctor that actually administered shots to her. Not just for school, but in general, from birth. Because they need inoculation. That's how they grow healthy and strong and things like that. And also need to have a birth certificate. And way before now. And I don't care what you say about having had her at home. First off, I think Candace is too much of a sissy to have endured that unless she absolutely had to, which in my opinion means that there was drugs in her system, and a lot of them. So she delivered at home, risking her and the baby's life. And you were down with it. Makes no sense to me, buddy. But regardless, you still had to take her to the hospital, get her checked out, and register that baby. And if you had not, all your interaction with child services, would they just walk in one day and there's an extra kid, and they, they're cool with it? Oh, Miss Wells, nice, she's cute. Good luck, with whichever baby you happen to have. Don't work like that, dude. Don't work like that at all. They would have taken that baby to the hospital. They would have examined the baby. They would have asked to examine the mother. And they would have found out if there was anything fundamentally wrong with the baby. Like, your neighbor across the street implies that Summer had fetus alcohol syndrome, however you say that. That your other son possibly does too. Where were they checked on? Where is the documentation that any of them have seen? You bitch about all these people all over you and Candace about this, and they won't let you alone. Do you know how many people would be off your back instantaneously if you just showed one piece of documentation of a medical exam on her. A dentist, a doctor, pediatrician, optometrist. You know, like any form of proof she was who you were saying she is. You know, everybody got mad at Ryan Upchurch when he said that Kylie didn't exist, which I think was a slip. I think he believes Kylie exists. I think he doesn't believe that that accident exists or the big party existed, but I think, you know, he meant that a little bit different than how most people took it. And I'm feeling like Ryan right now, bro. Like, I just think that it's pretty sinister, but I think that you're such a pedo that you traded that little girl for something. That you know, especially with you saying, I just got her back. You just got her back from where? Where was she? How'd you just get her back? Who had her? For how long? Why? And, that one really stumps me, because it makes no sense for anybody to say that like that. And you said it with such conviction, like, dang, I just got her back and she's gone? Like, why? Where did she go? Uh-oh, where did my purple pink go? Deja? Oh, come on. Hold on a second. No, not there. There we go. So you, in my opinion, you traded somebody for that little girl, and that's why you couldn't take her for medical. That's why you didn't take her to register school. I don't even know if you know that, Don, if you know whether she did or not, because it doesn't seem like you get too involved in the daily ins and outs of the Hill. There's been proof of inappropriate texting from your wife to other people. Mainly the guy right down the street from your house. I believe his name's Don too. That's kind of funny. You don't call out the wrong name. But yeah, she was sending him all kinds of inappropriate communication. And then H. And what's the kid's name on the side of the shed? Is it Anthony? No, not Anthony. I have to go back and watch your video. But, you know what I'm talking about. I might have the name wrong, but it's another one like H that she kept around and stuff, huh? What do you think she was doing with them? Did she teach them how to play hopscotch? Checkers? Parcheesi? Nope. She taught them how to go oingo boingo. And use her like a pogo stick. Up and down, in and out, up and down, in. Ooh, that was close. I thought I spilled that water. Wow. Don, you get me frustrated thinking about things I want to say to you. I wish I could have this conversation with you in person, because there's so many things that, like, just have my mind so fucked up with this shit. Why is it, like, nobody on either side of your families? I mean, your sister stood up and said, you know, the things I can say the things you did because you admitted to it, so that's not alleged, and that's not, in my opinion, It's out of your own mouth. But not one aunt, uncle, cousin, anybody has stood up and showed any concern for that baby at all. Almost as if she never fucking existed. Like, you guys have it down to a science. And not once, man. In 2 years, has one person come on here and said, I am scared for this baby. This baby is our family, regardless of what is going on or how long it's been going on. We didn't know about it or whatever. We are here now to look for her, to ensure that her little life is still her little life. And you're never going to show any concern for her because I believe you know. Excuse me, Jesus. I believe you know exactly what happened to her. I believe you. It was cool. I believe you know firsthand. I do honestly think that you probably did take part in disposing of her. God forbid. I pray not, but you seem like that guy, dude. And with all your connections to guys that are confirmed that guy, like, what's the chances you would know somebody like Tony Hammonds, Frank White, Don Sharfy Jr., Ricky Crawford? You know, the list goes on and on and on of people you're associated with. People's names that come up when you put your name into a search engine, their name also comes up as associated with you. I don't get it, bud. Like, what is the common denominator? What is it that brings you all together in that same little spot, time and time again? Oh, I know what I mean. Robin Lane. Would you turn her out to get her to try some shit one night? She liked it. Now she's willing to ruin her marriage, any kind of social life she has, because, I mean, come on. How many people want to associate with somebody who associates with the likes of you, your wife, your mother-in-law, your uncle-in-law, your son, your step-son-in-law, oh, let's not forget Sherry. Oh, what happened to the babies up there that Sherry had custody of? Allie's babies, I believe they are. What happened to a little girl that now she is so impaired she's living in a facility? And it's said that she'll never get out. Never get out, Tom. For being a little girl that inadvertently somehow wound up in the path of the likes of you. That's horrible, bro. They won't even release the basic coverage of what happened to this child because it was so horrific. And I know you know because it happened at your house. It happened at your house with Sherry there. That's why Sherry's in jail. And I'm starting to wonder, and you should too, if Sherry, upon getting incarcerated, worked out a deal. Remember this, how we started the video, talking about a deal? What if she did that? What if she went in there and she told them what she knows occurs on that hill? You think that's enough for an indictment? You think that's enough to make people go home and hit their knees at night and pray to God that nothing like that occurs to any other child again, let alone their own? You think Sherry wants to stay in jail? Or do you think Sherry would more benefit from talking? But then you have other people who are in too, who I'm sure don't want to do that. Like even your boy Donnie Surfy Jr. How do you know he's not talking? And you know, that's another thing I wondered on. All those images Surfy Jr. has, is Summer depicted in them images? Was Summer one of his little playthings you play with and dispose of? And if so, do you know? Did you know? Are you cool with that? I mean, you get to look at pictures, I guess. You know, he hooks you up with some disgusting material, and you go and you do the old knuckle shuffle and the piss pump, and think of little kids. How fucking disgusting is that? I mean, it just sounds like it's something that shouldn't be able to come out of anybody's mouth. Like, but for y'all, it's nothing. I get it. No, I want to wrap this up because I am almost finished with this thing. Oh, I dropped my cigarette. Damn it. Oh. I'm almost done with my yin and yang, and I am going to go in the house, make myself something to eat, and then you know what is going to happen, because it happens every night. I'm going to lay down, and I'm going to try to fall asleep. And that your baby girl is going to run through my mind so much that I won't be able to get to sleep. Because that's what happens every night. And I'm tired. I'm tired of it now. I want an answer. A lot of people want an answer. We want our lives back, and we can't have our lives back until we find this little girl. Simple as that. Like, it may sound cliche to say it, but like many other people have said, and I agree with, no summer, no peace. I mean, if complete strangers can't find peace out of concern for your kid, what the fuck gives you the right to be comfortable? You and Darling over there. Hey, Darling, you know all that tough talk you do in the background all the time? Why don't you talk to me? And you go for a little walk. I know you don't want to walk in the woods. You're afraid of snakes, coyotes, and bears. We can walk down your driveway. We can walk through Warrior's Path. We can take a walk in a lot of places, tough girl. Ow. Ow, 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 ow. The other night, you and the use of the N-word, not only do you use it quite often, but I saw the effects of it. while your daughter was at church, on Robin's hip at the podium, and Robin was singing, and a lady came up to sing with Robin, who happened to be African American, your daughter looked like she's seen a ghost. What are you crying about? Like she's seen a ghost, she didn't know how to act, and for the first time in all the videos I've seen of that little girl at that church, she looked around for her parents. You're teaching her that hate. You're teaching her the wrong thing. That's so disgusting. I mean, just because of a person's color of their skin. Hate? Really? Hate, Don? But yet, Summer loves her daddy, right? All the things her white-ass dad has done to her. And you're going to put the fear of black people into her? Excuse me a second. What do you want? What do you want? You want to go in the house? Mom, but you need to go in the house and need some blankets, Mom. Is that what Butcher want? You want to go in? Okay. Well, I'm going in. And I will make another video in a little while once I get settled, because there's a lot of things that I wanted to say this evening that I got distracted on other things that kept popping into my mind. So, think about it, Don. Think about going to jail for capital murder, and for a possible capital murder that occurred while you weren't even around. A capital murder that occurred because your wife was playing with teenage boys at the horse pond. Come on, Daddy. Come on, I'll take you. And think about, see how dark it is now, Don? Think about how dark it is wherever summer may be. It's dark. It's cold. Has she eaten? Is somebody hurting her? Somebody torturing her, in your words? I mean, you give some pretty good descriptions of how to terrify and abuse a kidnapped kid. Kind of makes me wonder, Don. Makes me wonder. So, with that, good night. I'll be back.